In social media, first and foremost, it's customer service. It's not always about pushing out original content as a first priority. It's more about responding to customer service inquiries and serving our customers.
Hi, I'm Bruno Aziza, and today I'm here with Sarah from REI. Thank you very much for your time, Sarah.
You bet.
So you're also known as the Climber Girl on Twitter, and you work on social media at REI. Tell us how you got to REI and how I should think about the different use of Twitter in the personal sense versus a brand.
It was a long path for me to REI, so I'll give you the really short version. I was practicing law after a career in software and web development, and discovered climbing, fell in love with climbing, found my passion in life when it comes to climbing, and then gradually became an influencer in sports and outdoor, was a product reviewer, blogged and wrote, and then over time worked my way into the industry. And then the planets just aligned for me to wind up at REI when they had an opening.
And so this is a great example of sometimes you might want to think about how you hire talents for a company for social media. And here you really have to think, okay, well, do I hire somebody that knows the industry very well or somebody that's a social media expert? Let's go back to this issue of when you're social media on the personal side versus social media for a brand. What are the issues you need to think about?
It's fun at REI because we have a 3-person social media team, a digital engagement team, and we're all users. We're all technical users in our various sports and social media practitioners. And so for us, there's, when we're tweeting for REI, it's on message, on brand, but we're able to bring our technical expertise in the sports and our love of gear and everything else to the job. So I don't have to leave any part of myself at home when I come to work at REI. I just have to clean up my language a little bit.
And so now there's also the issue around the brand, people expecting that the brand is coming from a different angle than the personal, I guess, authentic individual expression on Twitter. How as a brand, how do you handle almost, I'd say, this negative first step that people might expect you to talk about?
Yeah, that's what I've run into, is that as a person, I feel like people presume good of me. If I make a mistake, it's because I'm a human being and I made a mistake. And what's different for me working at REI is that there's not that same presumption that if we make a mistake, we're still a good company, we're still a good person, we're still a good actor. We just made a mistake. There's not that acceptable presumption that sometimes companies make mistakes. And so one of the things, REI, we have generally really goodwill among our customers, and so I'm interested in looking at ways to build that goodwill. One way that REI has done so is by responding to negative customer service issues in public. When they started on social media, if there was a negative or critical social media customer service issue raised through social media, then they'd respond through back channels. They'd respond through a direct message or a private message. And so what that left was, if you logged in and looked at our Facebook page, it was just a big long line of customer service questions that it looked like no one had responded to.
I see.
So now, rather than doing that, we engage in public, and if we have to say, oh my gosh, we're sorry, then we say, oh my gosh, we're sorry. If we think, when I read the message, if I think, oh my gosh, that's such a bummer, then I'll write, oh dude, that's a bummer. And then we apologize, and then we figure out how to make it right. And so I think that's helping shift that presumption of goodness, that people will see that when they raise a negative or critical point, then we'll respond to it and make it right.
Which is really interesting, I think, when you're getting a negative feedback, often you're thinking, well, maybe we need to handle that differently. But what social media is giving you, especially I think in a specialty business like that, is truly identify with the audience and take the negative into an opportunity. Now, this problem of a specialty business can also be a limitation when you think about the broader market. And so how do you think about engaging with your hardcore customers versus the non-hardcore, not outdoors,
more recreational user?
Yeah.
I think still being new to REI, I'm still kind of learning all the lay of the land. But it really feels to me like if we put our customers on a bell curve, the middle of our bell curve are pretty casual, recreational lifestyle users.
Yep.
And then we have people on either end of that. And so, in social media, we first and foremost, it's customer service.
Yeah.
So it's not about pushing out. It's not always about pushing out original content as a first priority. It's more about responding to customer service inquiries and serving our customers. We do put out a lot of original content, and so it's more in the putting out original content that you see the differentiation and appeal to audience. Because a customer is a customer is a customer, whether they're a high-end technical mountaineer or someone who's looking for shoes for their kid to go for a walk in the park. They're going to get the same customer service from us. But when it comes to the content that we choose to share with our audience, that's where you'll see the bulk of our content is meant to appeal to our broadest possible audience. And then every once in a while we'll include a more extreme video or something that's a little more aspirational, just to spice it up. And those things appeal to our main audience also. But yeah, there's just, when I sit down to prepare content, I'm not thinking, is this going to appeal to core athletes, or I'm just thinking about REI customers.
This is interesting also. I think it makes me think about the difference in how to use Twitter versus Facebook. You might think that Facebook might be more appropriate for videos maybe, versus Twitter might be more appropriate for customer service. You have 250,000 plus fans on Facebook. Are you using those two things differently? How do you think about the activity on Twitter versus the activity on Facebook?
My gut instinct is that we see a few more customer service issues on Twitter, and a little more just general conversation on Facebook. So our Twitter is pretty heavy on the customer service and just the chatter, and then Facebook is also just heavy on the chatter. When we do post videos, it's correct, that's on Facebook. We do tend to link to videos from Twitter, but it's just by nature of the tool, not as visual of a place.
But the way you think about it is you want to make sure you're present across both platforms, and you don't discriminate your customer versus, a hardcore versus a non-hardcore.
No, and we have customers in both places, and so we go where our customers are.
And I think we've also learned as you're hiring new talent for social media that the idea of being a passionate user and a great marketer is probably better than just hiring any social media marketing or a social media strategist. There's also a place here for technology, and many of you are going to get access for free to this application we have built that is a Twitter analytic application. Basically allows you to think about your tweets and think about your traffic. When you look at this application, I'm just going to pull it up for you. What are some of the things that you think are useful, or maybe the things that you would want people to pay attention to?
For me, what we don't have a lot of is sentiment monitoring, so tone. And so it's pretty easy to some of the metrics here are stuff that we gather already, but being able to see tone and sentiment, even if it's just one data point, it's still helpful for us to know.
Because you can have a lot of traffic, but you want to be able to understand what that traffic is. And so we've built all that for you. We even have a tone dictionary as a tab, so you can edit that and you can figure it out. Because it's in Excel, you can manipulate the data and figure out the traffic coming in and so forth. Well, Sarah, thank you very much for your time. If people want to continue the conversation with you, where do they go? The Climber Girl on Twitter. I'm also, I help out with the @REI account on Twitter, and I'm easy to find on Facebook. I'm on Facebook as Sarah Lingefelter. That's great. Well, until next time, I'm Bruno Aziza.